on and off rain today. It's pretty windy too. It actually started pouring last night. It is Boxing Day today too, and it seems like there's actually lineups you can see from outside various stores. People still shopping, I guess, regardless of all these shutdowns, pandemics, and all that. And what did I read today? I guess this was interesting for yesterday. Apparently right on Christmas there was a COVID outbreak. This one says COVID-19 outbreak at Vancouver General Hospital respiratory unit. Actually makes me wonder what is considered an outbreak nowadays, because I know for some stories for other hospitals they had maybe 2 cases and that was considered as an outbreak, whereas before all this I would imagine there would have to be dozens of people, correct? Going with the better safe than sorry route, I suppose. And the day after Christmas, you would assume a lot of people got drones for their presents, and it seems like Transport Canada is still spending money on ads trying to tell people to register them and so forth. Like this one says, got a new drone, register your drone, get your drone pilot certificate and know where to fly. And as before, it doesn't seem like they're getting much support overall. But this one here says, fly to Ottawa so you can watch the corrupt Liberals make deals that screw the taxpayer. Single worst government in Canadian history. More of them say drones greater than 250 grams. This guy says, I like how they don't clarify that. Not all drones need registering, so a lot of people are cynical still over this. That's personally been my general observation overall, where it seems like the mass majority of people, funny enough, actually don't agree with it. It's basically people who sell something, they have some kind of commercial gain over it to sell you things like courses and certification and all that. It seems like that's where all the support comes from, which is a little, I guess you could say, confusing, because when you see the media reports, you would assume the mass majority of people favor things like this. But then when you look down into it, when it comes to items like this, just talking to people in general daily life, they actually don't agree with it in terms of regulating things that are, quote, I guess you could say toys, like the smaller ones, like how most people actually fly them. So with that in mind, it was kind of interesting reading this, where people actually wanted Transport Canada to regulate their industry more in terms of aviation related hobbies, I guess you could say. This one apparently dealt with gliding. I personally have no experience in this, so I'm just only going by what I read here. So it says here, Dear Mr. Garneau, I am writing to support legislation mandating the use of aircraft collision avoidance systems for gliding clubs in Canada. I am doing so in support of the Lion Weber family of Calgary, Alberta, whose son Adam was killed in a mid-air collision at the CU NIM Gliding Club in Black Diamond on July 26, 2019. Had better safety protocols been in place, Adam would today be in a physics program at the University of Calgary and a glider pilot himself. Guidelines are not enough. Recommendations alone do not ensure safety. Your efforts in helping in this manner are generally appreciated. Again, I'm not too familiar with how things work, but just from reading this, what the story goes is there's essentially a flight instructor and a person who's flying, I guess you say, the glider, which was this person who unfortunately passed away. There was a very experienced person, but it says they were killed in a glider aircraft that was struck by a tow plane on July 26, 2019 at the CU NIM Gliding Club in Black Diamond, Alberta. Before takeoff, Wood stated that this was an instructional flight and that he was going to be flying the circuit. Once airborne, instructor Wood radioed the tow pilot requesting banking turns, an advanced exercise that should have been briefed between the instructor and the pilot in advance. The glider released in an unusual position to the left of the tow plane. Wood radioed the tow pilot to thank him for the tow, but neglected to mention their position, placing the 2 aircraft on a collision course. So as the story goes, to my knowledge from reading this, the way it works is there's this tow plane and it flies this other glider to the air because that glider doesn't have an engine, and as it soars into the air, it releases it, and with that, it starts flying. So pretty much like, I guess, similar to a regular airplane without an engine. And this was a very experienced instructor doing this, to my understanding. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, I guess during the release, normally one plane goes in one direction and the other goes in the other, but because something happened, it basically crashed. And normally there's collision detection systems, but they're saying this person knowingly, the instructor, went ahead and did this anyways with it malfunctioning. Because it says here, the flarm of the tow plane had been malfunctioning since March 22nd, 2019. The tow pilot was negligent in maintaining his flarm and did not record problems with the device in the appropriate logs. Had his flarn been operable, he would have been alerted to the glider's unusual position and the collision and subsequent loss of life avoided. And they were saying too, again, this was a very experienced person, so it wasn't just some random person just all of a sudden today saying, oh, I'm going to decide to be an instructor or something like that. And because of that, they're asking for change. So because of this, they're basically saying this should no longer just be a guideline, it should be mandatory law for people, I guess, to maintain these types of systems and to have them. It says, this accident further demonstrates that the see and avoid principle cannot be solely relied on and should be used in complement with aircraft collision avoidance systems. It is our belief that aircraft collision avoidance systems should be standard equipment in all gliders and tow planes. So it's kind of interesting in this case where there's something aviation related, so to speak, and they're demanding this to be law, whereas right now it's all guidance, so they kind of have more freedom and flexibility, just be safe and all that, I guess you could say. Although they still need to get licenses and stuff, I believe too, like to fly it in general at first. So it's kind of fascinating to think about just in terms of things like drone regulations and all that, because thinking about it in terms of things like drones, just flying a really basic one to get basic, let's just say cinematography, or people flying it for fun below tree levels, that is made to be such a big deal, and they urgently needed to immediately release laws and all that, teach people crazy stuff about clouds, hypoxia. Again, let's just say if someone is flying it below tree lines. But here, I guess people are saying there was a real death here, and they want this to be changed with such huge, you'd argue it's pretty big, isn't it, in terms of these planes? Where in that case, you'd have to wonder, why wouldn't they jump at that opportunity there to say, okay, we're making change because there's a real death in this situation. At the same time, I did read some of the comments where people were saying an accident is an accident. You don't need mandatory laws because it just happens in many cases. So would you argue in this case, you should make laws like that? Or no, it's basically an isolated incident? To me, again, it's really interesting to think about, because again, when I flew things like the drone, I just wanted to use it to capture some basic video, use it as an artistic expression. But when people were making such a big deal about it, when I started to look into things, everything else aviation related, for some reason it just seems like this is taken way more seriously than everything else for whatever reason in that context when it comes to things like death and all that, which you would assume would be the number one priority to say, okay, something needs to be changed. So one, I guess, do you think it's odd, again, where in situations where there's real deaths and all that, it just seems like it's in a sense not taken as much of a priority? And two, for people who are more knowledgeable about things like gliders and all that, would you agree that should be mandatory or not? Or is there kind of a perspective on why it's good the way it is, so to speak? Alright, see you guys later.